The first thing Clara Matthews noticed was how quiet the world had become. Not peaceful quiet. The kind that presses against your ears until your own heartbeat sounds too loud. The kind that makes you wonder if something out there is watching. She stood on the porch, boots planted in frozen wood, breath turning white in front of her face. The Wind River Valley stretched out before her, buried under early winter. Too early. The cold had come before she was ready, before she could fix the barn, before she could mend the fence, before she could figure out how to survive alone. Her fingers tightened around the rifle. Not raised. Just ready. 6 months. That was how long it had been since the ground took Thomas. 6 months of waking up in a bed that felt too wide. 6 months of chopping wood until her hands split open. 6 months of listening to wolves in the distance and pretending they would stay there. A gust of wind hit the porch. Sharp. Bitter. It cut through her shawl like it wasn't even there. She didn't move. Didn't step back inside. If she went inside too early, it felt like losing, and she had already lost too much. If you've ever stood alone in a place like that, you understand something most people never do. You either break, or you become something harder. Clara didn't know yet which one she was becoming. Her hand drifted to the letter tucked into her apron. She didn't need to read it again. She already knew every word. Come home. A woman alone has no business out there. Her jaw tightened. The paper crinkled under her fingers. Home, Missouri, soft beds, warm kitchens. People who thought they knew what was best for her. People who had never buried a man with their own hands. Her eyes lifted toward the mountains. Gray clouds rolled low over the peaks. Something was coming. Snow. A lot of it. Too soon. Too heavy. Too much for one person. Then she heard it. Faint, distant, hoofbeats. Her body reacted before her mind did. The rifle came up. Not shaking. Not wavering. Just steady. The sound grew louder. Slow. Deliberate. Not a rider in a hurry. That made it worse. The horse came through the tree line first, black, huge, bigger than anything she had ever seen. Then, the man. Clara didn't breathe. He sat tall in the saddle, like the cold didn't touch him, like the wind moved around him instead of through him. Even from a distance, he looked wrong. Too big. Too solid. His shoulders stretched the coat like it was made for someone smaller. The horse stopped at the edge of her land. The man didn't move for a second. Just looked at her. Even from that far, she could feel it, like being measured. Her finger rested near the trigger. That's far enough. Her voice carried across the frozen air. Firm, flat, no fear in it. The man raised his hand slowly. Empty. I mean no harm, ma'am. His voice reached her a second later. Deep, low, like it came from somewhere far down in his chest. I'm looking for the Matthews place. Her grip tightened. You found it. A pause. I was told Thomas Matthews might sell stock. The name hit like something sharp under her ribs. She didn't lower the rifle. Thomas is dead. Silence. The wind moved between them. Cold, endless. Then the man took off his hat. That was the first time she saw his face. Not handsome. Not clean. Rough lines. Old scars. A nose that had been broken more than once. But his eyes, they caught the light. Warm, steady, not looking past her. Looking at her. I didn't know, he said. No excuses, no questions, just that. Clara lowered the rifle just a little. Most folks do. I'm not most folks. A small pause. I live north. Don't come down this way much. She studied him. His coat was worn but clean. His horse strong, not starving, not desperate, not careless. What's your name? Elijah Stone. He said it simple, like it didn't need anything added to it. Clara Matthews. The wind picked up again. She felt it slide under her collar. Cold enough to bite. You can come closer, she said. A beat. I won't shoot you." Something shifted at the corner of his mouth. Not quite a smile, but close. He nudged the horse forward. When he dismounted, Clara felt something strange in her chest. He was bigger than she thought. Much bigger. She barely reached his chest. For a second, her body remembered something her mind didn't want to admit. What it felt like to be small, to be held, to not carry everything alone. She took a step back. Just one. He noticed. He stepped back too. Gave her space. Didn't say anything about it. "I can go," he said quietly. "You look like you've got enough on your plate." Clara lifted her chin. "What kind of stock?" "Cattle." His eyes moved past her, toward the land, not judging, just seeing. She followed his gaze. The broken fence, the sagging barn, the place where things had started slipping. "I've got 15 head, she said. Her voice came out steady, even if her hands didn't feel that way. "They're good. I believe you. No hesitation. No doubt." That caught her off guard. Most men would have questioned her, tested her, looked for weakness. He didn't. "You want to see them? If it's not trouble." She turned, started walking. Didn't check if he followed, but she heard his boots in the snow behind her. Heavy, slow, controlled, they passed the barn, the broken boards, the loose roof. Clara felt heat rise in her face. Not from warmth, from something else. He didn't comment, didn't ask, didn't look at her like she was failing, just walked beside her, like it didn't matter. The cattle stood near the far fence, breath rising in white clouds, strong, alive, still holding on. 15, she said. "All yours?" They were his. The words stopped there. Elijah nodded once, stepped closer to the fence, watched them, long enough that she thought he might say something about the condition, about what needed fixing, about what she had done wrong. Instead, they're good. Simple, certain. "You've been handling them yourself?" She looked at him. Who else would? A small pause. "Then that's not easy work." His voice wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. It landed anyway. Clara didn't answer. Didn't know how to. Because no one had said that to her before. Not once in 6 months. Not once in her whole life. "How much?" she asked. He told her. The number sat in the air between them. Too high. Higher than it should have been. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "That's generous. It's fair." He didn't blink. Didn't look away. "You kept them alive through this?" He glanced at the sky, at the cold rolling in. "That's worth something." Clara swallowed. Something shifted in her chest. Small but real. "When would you take them?" "Spring, a beat. Snow's coming. Not safe before then." She nodded. "That gives me time." He looked at her again. "Longer this time. You'll need supplies. I'll manage. I know you will. No challenge, no doubt. Just belief. That hit harder than anything else." "Half now," he said. "Half when I come back." Clara hesitated. "Then deal." He held out his hand. She took it. His palm closed around hers. Warm. Careful too. Careful for a man that size. Like he was holding something that could break. And for a second she didn't pull away. Didn't breathe. Didn't think. Because something about that moment felt like the beginning of something she didn't understand yet, and wasn't ready for. Not out here. Not in the cold. Not when everything in her life was still barely holding together. But it had already started, whether she wanted it to or not. The fire cracked low in the stove. Orange light flickered across the cabin walls, stretching shadows that moved when nothing else did. Clara sat at the table. Elijah sat across from her. Between them two, tin cups. Steam curled upward, slow and thin. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Not because there was nothing to say. Because something had already been said, without words. The kind that settles in your chest before your mind catches up. Elijah lifted the cup. Careful, always careful. Even something as small as that, he handled like it mattered. "You built this place?" he asked. Clara shook her head. "My husband did." A pause. Her fingers brushed the rim of her cup. He knew how to build things. The words stayed simple, but her shoulders pulled in just a little, like something tightened inside. Elijah didn't push, didn't ask more, just nodded once. He did it right. That was it. No pity, no long talk, just recognition. And somehow, that felt heavier. Outside, the wind hit the side of the cabin. Hard, the boards creaked. Clara glanced toward the door without thinking. Elijah noticed. "You've got wood for tonight," he said. "Tomorrow, not so much." She let out a breath. "I know." Her voice came quieter this time. "Everything's a step behind." Elijah set the cup down, stood up. The chair groaned under the sudden shift. "Where's your axe?" Clara blinked. "You don't have to, I know." He looked at her. Steady, not asking. "I want to." Something in his tone stopped her. Not force, not insistence, just certainty. She pointed toward the door, outside by the wall. He nodded once, then ducked through the doorway. The cold rushed in behind him. Clara stayed where she was, hands wrapped around the cup, not drinking, just holding it. Through the window, she watched him. He picked up the axe, tested the weight once, then swung. The sound cracked through the air. Clean, sharp wood split in half like it had been waiting for it. Another swing, another clean break. No wasted motion, no strain in his shoulders, just steady rhythm, like breathing. Clara's eyes stayed on him. She didn't mean to stare, but she couldn't look away. There was something in the way he worked. Not fast, not rushed, just sure, the kind of sure she hadn't felt in a long time. Snow started to fall, light at first, then thicker. He didn't stop, didn't even look up. By the time he set the axe down, the pile of wood beside the cabin had doubled, then tripled. Enough to last weeks, maybe longer. He came back inside. Cold clung to him. His coat carried it in. But beneath that warmth, alive, Clara stood before she realized she had moved. She handed him a fresh cup. Their fingers brushed, just for a second, but it stayed, longer than it should have. "Thank you," she said. Soft, real, he nodded once. Took a drink, then watched her over the rim. "You don't ask for help." It wasn't a question. Clara looked away. "I didn't think anyone would come. You didn't try." That landed. She let out a slow breath. "There's a difference." He tilted his head slightly. Not much of one. Silence again. But this one felt different. Closer, the fire popped. A spark jumped, died before it hit the floor. "What about you?" she asked. "You always ride around fixing strangers' problems?" A small shift in his mouth. Almost a smile. "Not usually." "Then why here?" He didn't answer right away. His eyes moved across the cabin, the walls, the stove, the chair she had been using alone. Then back to her. "I heard about you." Clara stiffened. "In town?" He nodded. "They said there was a woman out here doing a man's work." Her jaw tightened. "They said a lot more than that. I don't care what they said." His voice stayed low. "I came to see." "And?" She met his eyes, didn't look away. "And I was right. A beat. You're still here." Simple words. But they hit deeper than they should have. Clara looked down at her hands, the cracks in her skin, the faint lines where the cold had bitten too hard. "I don't have anywhere else to go. You had Missouri. I left Missouri." Her voice sharpened, just enough. "I didn't come all this way to run back." Elijah nodded slowly. "I figured." The wind outside picked up again. The door rattled in its frame. Clara shivered. Barely, but he saw it. "You're cold." "I'm fine." He stepped closer to the stove, added another log, adjusted it until the flame caught stronger. The heat spread. "Slow, steady, fine doesn't look like that." She almost smiled. Almost, you don't look like a man who worries about that. I worry about what's in front of me. His eyes met hers again. And right now, that's you. The air shifted. Subtle, but real. Clara felt it in her chest, like something loosening, something dangerous. She turned away, moved toward the counter, poured more coffee, anything to break it. Where'd you learn to work like that? She asked. Blacksmith, he answered without hesitation. Kansas, that explains the hands. He glanced down at the calloused, scarred. They've seen worse than wood. A pause. My wife used to say they were too rough. Clara froze. Just slightly. You were married. Yes, nothing else. No detail. But it stayed between them. Heavy, she set the cup down in front of him. Careful was? He looked at the fire. Not at her. Accident. One word. Flat enough, Clara didn't ask more. Didn't need to. She knew what that word meant out here. She sat back down. Slow. The distance between them felt smaller now. Not gone, but different. Outside, the snow came down harder. The world beyond the window disappeared. Just white. Endless white. You should stay, she said. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Elijah looked at her. Really looked. You sure? It's not safe to ride back in that. A beat. And I've got space. The last part came quieter, like she wasn't used to saying it. He nodded once. Then I'll stay. No hesitation, no long talk. Just that. Clara felt something shift again. Deep, unsteady, but not bad. Not wrong, just new. She stood. Moved toward the small spare bed, pulled a blanket over it, hands working faster than her thoughts. You can take that. And you? I'll be fine. He didn't argue, didn't push, just watched her. The fire burned stronger now. The cabin felt warmer. Smaller, closer, Clara blew out the lantern. Darkness settled in. Only the fire remained. She lay down. Back to him. Eyes open. Listening, his breathing was slow, steady, like nothing outside could touch him. The wind howled. Snow hit the walls. But inside it felt different, safer. For the first time in months, she didn't feel alone. And that scared her more than anything else. Because if she let that feeling stay, if she let him stay, then losing him later would hurt worse than anything she had survived so far. Her fingers curled into the blanket. Tight. But she didn't tell him to leave. Didn't turn around. Didn't close that door, and somewhere in the quiet between them something began to grow. Slow, careful, like a flame that hadn't decided yet whether it would warm her or burn everything she had left. Morning came without warning. No slow light, no soft warmth. Just cold, and the sound of something breaking. Clara's eyes opened instantly, her body already moving before her mind caught up. The noise came again, sharp, wood snapping. She pushed the blanket off and reached for her boots. Across the room, Elijah was already on his feet. No confusion, no hesitation, just movement. What was that? She whispered. He didn't answer. Just grabbed his coat and moved to the door. Opened it, the cold slammed inside, hard enough to steal breath. Clara followed him out. Snow up to her calves. The world still gray with early light. Then she saw it. The east fence. Half of it down. Post snapped. Wire buried under snow. And beyond it tracks. Deep, fresh, not cattle. Too wide. Elijah stepped forward. Slow, measured. His eyes followed the tracks across the field. Then he spoke. Something came through last night. Clara's fingers tightened at her sides. Wolves? He shook his head once. Too big. That sat heavy. Too big. The wind carried a distant sound. Low, faint, not close enough to see, but close enough to feel. Clara stepped closer to him without thinking, her shoulder nearly touching his arm. What do we do? He didn't look at her. Still watching the tracks. We fix the fence first. That's it? If cattle get out, you lose everything. His voice stayed calm, steady, like the danger didn't change the order of things. Work first, fear later. Clara nodded, even if her chest felt tight. They moved together, no wasted time. Elijah pulled the broken posts free, snapped them clean, set new ones into the frozen ground like it was softer than it was. Clara held the wire, hands numb, fingers stiff. But she didn't stop, didn't complain. Every now and then their hands brushed. No words, but something passed between them. Small, quiet, real. By the time the fence stood again, the sun had started pushing through the clouds. Weak, cold, but there. Clara wiped her hands on her skirt, her breath uneven. That should hold. Elijah tested the line, pulled it tight. It will. He turned, looked at her, really looked. Snow clung to her hair, her cheeks red from cold, her hands shaking just a little. You didn't have to do that alone, he said. I've been doing everything alone. A pause, then softer until now. The words stayed between them. Neither one moved. Then the sound came again. Closer this time. Clara turned fast, heart slamming. The tree line at the edge of the property. Something moved. Big, low, then gone. Elijah stepped in front of her without thinking. Not dramatic. Just there, blocking, watching. His body went still. Not tense. Ready, Clara felt it. The difference. He wasn't afraid. He was prepared. What is it? She whispered. He didn't answer. His eyes tracked the edge of the trees. Seconds passed. Long ones. Then nothing. The movement stopped. The sound faded. The valley went quiet again, but not the same quiet as before. This one felt. Watched. Elijah exhaled slowly. It moved off. That's it? For now. Clara didn't like that answer. Didn't like the way he said it. For now. She wrapped her arms around herself, cold creeping back in. He glanced at her. Go inside. I'm fine. You're shaking. I said I'm fine. He stepped closer. Not close enough to crowd her. Just enough. You don't have to prove anything to me. The words hit harder than the cold. Clara looked away, jaw tight. I'm not trying to prove anything. Yes, you are. Silence, she didn't answer. Because he wasn't wrong. He never seemed wrong. And that made it worse. He softened slightly, voice lower. You've already done more than most people ever would. Her throat tightened. She swallowed it down. I'm still here. I know. A pause. And I'm not leaving today. That made her look at him. What? That thing out there? It might come back. His eyes moved toward the tree line again. I'm staying until I know it won't. You don't have to, I know. Same words as before, but heavier now, more certain. Clara's chest felt tight again. Not from fear. Something else. Something she didn't want to name. All right, she said quietly. They walked back toward the cabin, closer than before, not touching, but not distant either. Inside the fire still burned. Warm, alive, Clara added more wood, hands moving on habit. Elijah stood near the door, watching, always watching. Sit, she said. I'll make something. You don't have to. I know. She met his eyes. Just for a second. Then turned away, a faint shift in his expression, like he understood, like he heard something she didn't say. They ate in silence. Simple food. Bread, beans, warm enough, but the silence wasn't empty anymore. It held something. Between them, after Elijah stood, moved toward the window, checked the land again. Clara watched him this time. The way he moved, the way he filled the space. Strong, but careful. Always careful. What are you looking for? She asked. Patterns, what kind? Movement, track, signs it's circling back. And if it does? He didn't turn. I deal with it. Simple, like everything else, he said. Clara stepped closer. Not too close, but enough to see what he saw. The white field, the broken line of trees. Nothing moving. Nothing safe. You've done this before, she said. Yes, what was it? A bear once. She went still. A bear? It didn't leave. A pause. I made it. Clara swallowed. You think that's what this is? I don't know yet. That was worse. Not knowing. The fire cracked behind them. The cabin held its warmth. But outside something was out there, watching, waiting, and inside something else was changing. Slow, quiet. Clara looked at him, at the man who had stepped into her life without warning, fixed her fence, split her wood, stood between her and whatever moved in the dark. You really weren't looking for cattle, were you? He turned this time. Met her eyes. No. Then why come? A beat, long enough to matter. You know why. Her breath caught. Just slightly. She looked down, then back up. I don't. Yes, you do. The space between them closed, not by much, but enough. Enough that she could feel the heat from him. Enough that her pulse picked up. This isn't simple, she said. No, she stopped. Didn't finish. Didn't know how. Elijah didn't move closer, didn't reach for her, just stayed there. Waiting, like he would let her decide everything. And that made it harder. Not easier, because part of her wanted to step forward. To close the space. To stop feeling like she was standing at the edge of something too big to control. But another part held her in place. Still, careful. You should rest, he said finally. His voice lower now. I'll take first watch. You're not sleeping? Later she nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't tell him to stop. Because she knew he wouldn't, and because she didn't want him to. Clara moved toward the bed. Lay down. But didn't close her eyes. Not right away. Across the room, Elijah sat in the chair, rifle resting across his lap, watching the door, watching the window, watching everything. The firelight flickered across his face, rough lines, steady eyes, a man built to stand between danger and whatever he chose to protect. Clara turned slightly, facing him, her voice barely above a whisper. Elijah. He looked at her instantly. Yes, she hesitated. Then, don't let it get inside. His expression didn't change. But something in his eyes did. It won't. Simple, certain, like a promise carved into stone. Clara closed her eyes then, for real this time, and for the first time since Thomas died, sleep came without a fight, because someone else was standing guard. The second night, it came closer. Not a sound at first, just a shift in the air, the kind that makes the fire feel smaller, even when it's burning strong. Elijah didn't move from the chair, rifle steady across his lap, eyes on the door. Clara woke without knowing why. No dream, no noise, just that same pressure in her chest, like something had stepped inside her breath. Elijah, her voice came low, barely there. I hear it, he said. He was already standing. The fire snapped behind him. Shadows climbed the walls. Clara pushed herself up, blanket falling from her shoulders. What is it? He didn't answer. Not yet. He moved toward the door. Slow, measured, every step placed like it mattered. The wind had stopped outside. That was wrong. Out here the wind never really stopped. Elijah reached for the latch. Paused, just for a second. Then, a heavy thud hit the side of the cabin. Wood groaned. Clara flinched. Her hand found the edge of the bed. Tight. Another hit. Closer this time. Something big. Something strong. Elijah stayed back. His voice cut low. Not loud, but it stopped her. He opened the door. Cold rushed in, and with it a shape. Massive, dark against the snow. It moved fast. Too fast for something that size. Elijah fired. The shot cracked through the valley. The sound rolled across the hills. The shape staggered, but didn't fall. Clara saw it then. Bare, huge, starved, thin, but still strong enough to kill. It roared. Low, angry, and charged again. Elijah stepped forward, out into the snow, between it and the cabin. Another shot. Closer. The bear slowed, but kept coming. Clara's breath locked in her chest. Her fingers shook, not from cold, from watching a man stand his ground against something that could tear him apart. Elijah. He didn't look back, didn't move away, just waited. Timed it. The bear lunged, he fired again. Point blank. The force knocked it sideways. It hit the ground hard. Snow burst up around it. Silence, not peaceful. Heavy, the kind that hangs after something almost ends. Elijah didn't move for a second. Rifle still raised. Watching, waiting, then the bear twitched once. Then went still. Clara realized she hadn't been breathing. She pulled in air sharp enough to hurt. Elijah. He turned then. Looked at her. Face cold. Focused. But his eyes searched her. Are you hurt? She shook her head. No, he nodded once. Then the tension left his shoulders. Just a little. Clara stepped forward, into the snow, toward him. Her boots sank deep, but she didn't stop. Didn't think. She reached him and grabbed his coat, both hands. Hard, you could have. The words broke. Wouldn't come out. Her fingers tightened, like if she let go he might disappear. Elijah looked down at her, then slowly set the rifle aside. His hands came up. Careful, always careful. He touched her arms, not pulling, just steadying. I didn't. Simple, but it wasn't enough. Not for what she felt right then. She stepped closer, pressed into him, her face against his chest, breathing uneven. His body went still for a second, then his arms closed around her. Slow, strong, warm, blocking out the cold, blocking out everything else. You don't get to do that again, she said into his coat. Her voice muffled, rough. Stand there like that, like you don't matter. He let out a quiet breath. I had to. You didn't. Yes, she pulled back just enough to look up at him. Snow in her hair, eyes sharp. You don't get to decide that alone anymore. The words landed. Hard. He didn't answer right away. Just looked at her, like he was trying to understand something new. Something he hadn't had before. All right, he said finally. Soft, real, not alone. The wind started again. Light, cold, but it didn't feel the same. Not with him standing there, not with his hands still holding her. They dragged the bear away before morning. Hard work. Heavy, but together. Everything felt different. By the time the sun rose, the valley looked the same. White, quiet, empty. But Clara didn't feel empty anymore. They stood on the porch, side by side, watching the light push over the mountains. You should go, she said. The words came slow, not because she wanted to say them, because she had to. Elijah didn't move. Do I? She swallowed. Her fingers curled into her sleeves. You've got your place. So do you. A pause, long enough to matter. Clara looked at the land, the broken fence, the cabin, the life she had been holding together alone. Then she looked at him, at the man who had stepped into that life and changed the shape of it. I don't want to do this alone anymore. There it was. No hiding it. No pushing it away. Just truth. Elijah stepped closer. Not rushed. Not forced. Just sure. You won't have to. Her breath caught. Not from cold, from what those words meant. What happens now? She asked. He reached for her hand. Large, warm, careful, like before. But this time she didn't hesitate. Didn't pull away. We build something, he said. Together, simple, but it filled the space between them. Clara looked down at their hands, at the way they fit. So different. So right. Then back up at him. You're not leaving? No, A beat. Not unless you tell me to. She shook her head. Slow, no. The wind moved around them, but didn't cut the same way. The cold stayed outside, where it belonged. Clara stepped close enough that she had to tilt her head to see him. You meant it, she said quietly. When you said you'd go slow, a faint shift in his mouth. That wasn't about cattle. No, her fingers tightened in his. Good, a pause. Then, because I don't want slow anymore. Something changed in his eyes. Deeper, stronger, but still careful. Always careful. He lifted his hand, brushed her cheek, light, like he was still learning how much pressure she could take. Clara leaned into it. Didn't pull away. Didn't think. Just felt. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like she was holding the world up alone. And that was more dangerous than anything that had come out of the dark. Because now, there was something to lose. Elijah stepped closer, closed the last space between them. Not rushed, not forceful, just there. I'm here, he said. Low, certain, Clara looked up at him, eyes steady. Then she pulled him inside, the door shut behind them, cutting off the cold, cutting off the world, leaving only firelight and the sound of two people learning how not to be alone anymore. The wind howled outside. The valley stayed wild. Danger still lived beyond the trees. But inside that cabin, something had changed. Something that wouldn't go back. And it all started the moment she chose not to face it alone again.